Welcome back to our discussion about evaluation, specifically today talking about how we tailor or focus an evaluation. As I looked at your topics, as I looked at what you hope to develop an evaluation plan for, this is an area we probably need to talk about a little bit is how we tailor or how we focus that evaluation. Most of your topics, your general topics are good. Now it's just a matter of how do we narrow down the focus of what we're going to evaluate to make sure that we can have an effective plan. You don't want a plan that builds an evaluation that's too broad or too all-inclusive. For an evaluation concept or an evaluation plan to have success, it's got to be pretty focused. And we'll talk a little more about that in areas that you need to focus your evaluation. Okay, so why do we want to tailor or focus an evaluation? Well, there's a number of reasons why we want to do that. Obviously, we want to have uh, some semblance of a chance of success. So, in order to do that, we have to have an evaluation that's focused. We need to completely understand what we're evaluating and who would be included in the evaluation. So, we'll spend some time talking about that. Okay. So how do we tailor or focus it? Well, number one, the questions the evaluation plans to answer have to be very clearly identified. Okay, so if you say that you're going to evaluate um, Ducks Unlimited, okay, that's a great program and one that certainly would fit into an evaluation, but that's a huge, broad scope of what you're saying you're going to evaluate. So you've got to lay out working with program sponsors. And in our case, you're probably not going to communicate as much with program sponsors. You may, if you're evaluating a program that you're very familiar with or with someone who is doing a program that you're very familiar with, but you may not have a conversation with them. But typically, you would have a conversation with the program organizers, the program sponsors, and talk about specifically what they need an answer to. And I'm not talking about the questions that are on a survey. I'm talking about the big questions. And usually in an evaluation plan, there will be 3 or 4 evaluation questions, maybe only a couple, but probably 5 or less for sure evaluation questions. And those are big overarching questions. Then as you begin to develop surveys and focus groups and interviews, then you have more specific questions that tie back to those big evaluation questions. Okay, so that's step number one in order to begin to focus is to determine what are you going to measure? What questions do you want to answer? Okay, once you've got those, once you've got those big questions, then you can think about, okay, how am I going to measure that? So what methods would I use? And we'll talk a good bit more about methods as we go through and data collection methods and things that we can do. So you'll start to line those out. This will all be a part of your plan. And then, what's your relationship going to be to the stakeholders, to the program managers? You're an independent evaluator. Think of yourself as a contractor, someone who was hired to develop an evaluation plan and to implement the plan. So, how involved will you be? The next 2 sessions, we'll be talking about participatory evaluation methods, getting more in depth about that. So you'll begin to understand what that relationship might look like between the evaluator, the program manager, and other stakeholders that have an interest in the program. Okay, some things that you need to take into account as the program evaluator, as the contractor, the independent evaluator. Okay, number one, what's the purpose of the evaluation? Are we just evaluating to try to make the program better? So, evaluating only for program improvement. Those are formative evaluations where we're going to determine the things that we've talked about just a little bit. What are reactions? How satisfied are participants? Are we implementing the plan, the program according to plan? In other words, we laid out in the beginning, the program implementers laid out a plan for how the program would be developed and implemented. Are they following that plan, and are they delivering the program according to plan? All those things are formative evaluations. So that could be the only thing they want measured. That may be all that they're after. Most likely they're going to want program improvement and accountability. Okay. So accountability begins to measure the worth or the value of the program. Is it meeting the expectations? Are we having impact? Are program participants adopting behaviors or changing behaviors or increasing knowledge? Whatever those indicators are, whatever the goals and objectives of the program are, is the program meeting those goals and objectives? And are program participants meeting the goals and objectives that were laid out in the beginning? So most likely, when you develop an evaluation plan, there are going to be aspects of formative evaluation and summative evaluation. So we're going to measure for program improvement and tweaks that need to be made during the delivery of the program. And at the end, we're going to measure for impact. So we have accountability. Okay. The other thing that you have to think about is, what can we learn from doing this evaluation? Are there things that we will learn that would help us in future evaluations? Maybe it's, ways that we develop surveys, or ways that we deliver surveys, or maybe it's the ways that we involve participants in interviews and focus groups. Okay, so what kinds of things could this certain? We're not talking about knowledge of the clients here. We're talking about knowledge of us as the evaluator. Are there things that we could learn, and are there things that tie back to program improvement that uh, the program managers and the program implementers could learn? Okay, so that's important that we take that into account. That we don't want to miss, and we don't want to glaze over something that could be important to us as evaluators, or to our clients as program managers, that could help them going forward. And then sometimes there's hidden agendas that you have to look out for, right? There's things where maybe the program manager has a very specific thing that they're interested in that really don't tie back to the goals and objectives of the program. We need to find those, and we need to point those out and make sure that the sun is shining on them, so that the program managers will be aware of maybe some sort of a bias that they're implementing into their program. Okay, so we'll be on the lookout for those, and we should take those into account as evaluators. We should also look at program structure and circumstances. So this is part of a program improvement evaluation, where we're looking at the way the program is being implemented, the way that it's staffed, the order of events, and the way that things are being delivered. Circumstances might be: are we in the right location? Are there too many distractions? Are there too many things going on at one time at this location? Anything that could have an impact on the success of the program. We need to be looking for those. We need to be measuring those and including those in our plan and our report back to stakeholders. That's something that they could learn about program improvement, and do a better job next time trying to improve the way that their program's being delivered. What stage of program development? Those are things that we have to take into account. Did we come in uh, way after the program had begun being implemented, right? When did we come in as independent evaluators? Were we involved in the needs assessment all the way back to the beginning, where we determined what and at what level the program would be implemented? Did we have any input into the development of our target audience, our target population, or did we simply come in towards the end of the program in order to do an accountability type summative evaluation? For us to be effective as evaluators, we should have some involvement all the way through the program development process. Okay, so think back to our discussion about program development. models, and the planning phase should include the plan for evaluation. So we should be involved all the way back at the beginning in order to be the most effective. Okay. Administrative and political context of the program, not of the evaluation, but of the program. Is there an open environment for a very detailed and very open type of evaluation, so that whatever the findings are, the administrators, the folks that are involved in making decisions, are open to hearing the true results of the evaluation. So the deck's not stacked against you from the beginning, and you come up with some recommendations that don't follow maybe the beliefs of the upper level of the organization. And this happens routinely where there's some disagreement. But if you've got data, if you've done a good job as an evaluator, your approach was unbiased, your plan was airtight, it was implemented according to plan, and you've got data that says, something in the program could have been better or needs to be changed, then we need to make sure that we have an environmental and a political context that is open to hearing that type of discussion. Okay. Conceptual and organizational structure of the program, very similar, but uh, is this a one person show? Is it where you've got one person who basically is doing the planning and the implementation of the program? Is there a larger organization? Are there different aspects where there's maybe an educator, there are curriculum developers, there are subject matter specialists that are providing that curriculum and helping to develop that. So, who all would be involved and who all would have an interest in learning about the success or the possible improvements of the program. That's very important for you to know and very important for you to understand as you work into an evaluation plan. And then what resources are available. Uh, Putting together a comprehensive evaluation definitely takes some resources. It's going to take a lot of your time, but it's also going to take the time and the effort of the program staff, of probably the stakeholders above program staff. So, what resources are available? Are they going to give you the most important resource is their time? Are they going to give you their time and be fully engaged to help you determine what you need and put together what you need to implement an effective evaluation? Those are all things that you need to take into account. Okay, let's talk a little about the relationship between the evaluator and stakeholder or stakeholders. Okay, there's lots of different stakeholder groups that could be involved here. Policy and decision makers, that's kind of the upper level of an organization. So it's those folks who will determine, hopefully based on the results of an evaluation, what are we going to do with this program? Is this one that we continue? Is this one that we grow and expand? Is this one that we cut back a little bit? Or is this one that we stop doing? Right? So you're going to have a relationship with that level of the organization if you're going to be able to be effective in delivering the results of an evaluation. Program sponsors, that could be funding sponsors. Most likely it is funding sponsors. They may be the same as the policy and decision makers. That could be one group, but it could also be a different group. You could have an independent sponsor, like maybe a foundation or a grant sponsor, that is not a policy and decision maker. So you need to know who those are and understand you may or may not have a direct line to the program sponsors, but you need to know who they are as you're developing that plan, so that you can begin to tailor the results so that they understand and you sharing results that would be meaningful for them. Okay. Who's sponsoring you as the evaluation? Are you being sponsored by the program sponsors, by the ones that fund the program? Are you being sponsored by the policy and decision makers? Are you being sponsored by another group? So you need to understand, if you're being funded to do an evaluation, who is providing the funds for you? You need to know who those individuals are, and that becomes a stakeholder for you personally as the evaluator. Okay. Another group of stakeholders that you're going to work with are the program participants, the target participants. So you need to understand fully what that target population looks like, who is and who is not part of that target population, and then those that participate and what portion of the target population is included as program participants. Are we reaching an acceptable percentage and number of that target population? And if not, that becomes formative evaluation, right? Helps us to determine what we need to do differently. So you've got to have a full understanding of who that target population is. And probably the group that you work with the most would be the program managers, those that are delivering the program. They're going to help you determine in the beginning what those evaluation questions are. They're going to be the ones that provide you access to participants, that are going to provide you the time and the location, everything that you need as an evaluator. They're going to provide that so that you can have success. So we're not going to go real in depth about the types of evaluation relationships here, because we are going to get much more in depth about participatory or collaboration evaluation over the next couple of weeks. But just as an understanding, this is kind of what we're looking at. An independent evaluation basically means that you are the evaluator. You are going to work with program staff to get it implemented. They're not probably going to have a lot of say into how the program is, or how the evaluation is developed. They'll have some say in how it's delivered, obviously, because they're going to give you access, but you're going to develop the plan. You're going to implement the evaluation. You're going to develop the data analysis and the reports. Pretty much going to be you as an evaluator. This is probably the most common type of outside evaluation that we see today, where when you hire an evaluator, or maybe it's a little bit of a crossover between an independent and a participatory evaluation, but it's very common that an evaluator kind of works independently, coming in and evaluating a program. There's probably some concern with some of the other methods that there might be too much input from program implementers and program managers, that there could be some bias. So the independent evaluation is an area, whether it's true or not, it has there's a feeling that there's less bias involved in an independent evaluation. So, in your plan that you're developing, you're probably going to have little aspects of independent evaluation, aspects of participatory evaluation, right? So you're probably going to have both of those somewhat built into your plan, but you need to know the difference. Participatory evaluation is more where the evaluator comes in and acts as almost as a consultant and works very closely with program staff and program managers to make sure that what we're measuring fits right in with the goals and objectives of the program. I think this is, again, I think this is probably the most successful method of evaluation, because you've got full buy-in from program staff. Everybody's in agreement of the direction that we're going, of what we're going to measure, of how we're going to measure it, of what's going to happen with results, that data is not going to go unused, that if we're going to put data together and reports together, that they will be shared and they will be used. So that's participatory or collaborative evaluation. Probably the most effective way to make sure that evaluations are inclusive, and that that the data is used from evaluation. So most evaluations will have some aspect of independent and some aspects of participatory evaluation built into their plans. Empowerment evaluations, really the newest form, and it's only been around since the mid 90s, I guess, in terms of a type of evaluation that we discuss. But empowerment evaluation basically says the evaluator is the coach. The evaluator comes in and works directly with program participants and coaches them on how to be more active in the program, how to get more out of the program, and then evaluates how that happens. So a very inclusive kind of environment with program participants. I will tell you that this form of evaluation, in terms of uh, using using this approach, it has its there's mixed emotions and mixed feelings in the evaluation field about how effective this is. Okay, so there are evaluators who don't believe that this is an effective way. There are evaluators that feel they don't get good results from using an empowerment evaluation. But basically, there's there's five aspects of empowerment evaluation that are believed in the evaluation community. So that evaluators teach people. So there's training that's involved. So evaluators teach people to conduct their own evaluations and become more self-sufficient. That's one aspect of empowerment evaluation. Facilitation. So evaluators can serve as coaches or facilitators to help others conduct their evaluations. Again, we're teaching program managers and participants how to do this. So there's a concern for bias. That's what the evaluation community. That's why there's some pushback. Advocacy is the third aspect, saying that evaluators serve as direct advocates, helping empower groups through evaluation. Okay. The fourth is illumination. Empowerment evaluation can also be illuminating, creating, giving community learners and people the opportunity to engage in evaluating themselves. So shining a light back on themselves so that they can see areas that they can improve. And then liberation is the fifth, and empowerment evaluations can help individuals take charge of their own lives and find successful ways to evaluate themselves. So those are the five aspects of empowerment evaluation. We won't spend a lot of time on that in this class talking about it. We'll probably touch on it again briefly over the next couple of weeks, but from the aspect of your plan and what you're developing, I would anticipate that you're going to have some aspects of independent evaluation, some aspects of participatory evaluation built into your evaluation plan that you're going to put together for this class. Okay, let's get into some details about how you're going to focus this evaluation down. First of all, looking at the questions and the methods, okay? First and foremost, if you don't have good evaluation questions, you won't have a good evaluation. They guide every aspect of your evaluation. Every decision you make as an evaluator, every method that you implement, every survey you develop, every interview or focus group you conduct will tie directly back to the evaluation questions that you and the program managers have agreed upon, that you've decided these are the things that we want to measure. Okay. If you are evaluating something that was not one of the original evaluation questions, where you're measuring something that's not important. Okay. So it's very important that you have a clear understanding of what those evaluation questions are. So they're going to be guided by the types of evaluation to some extent. Is this simply a needs assessment? Are we only trying to determine what the issue is, how severe the issue is, and who is impacted by the issue? That's basically what a needs assessment is. So it's basically going in, okay, we've got an organization that has the capability to address a wide variety of issues. We're going to help them determine what's most important. What are the most important things that they can do in a needs assessment? In extension, what we do is we do a broad, comprehensive needs assessment process where we ask the community, every community in Texas. It's called Texas Community Futures Forum. We ask every community in Texas specifically, what are the issues affecting their community? So if we want to make sure that we're relevant and that we're addressing issues that are of particular importance here locally, that's how we determine that. It's a very simple process. but it is also very systematic in the way that we implement it in every community across the state. So that's needs assessment. Okay, we might look at program theory. So that's basically saying, do we have an effective plan for this program? We know what the needs are, we know what the issue is. We've developed this plan, this program plan to address that. And when I say we, the program staff and the program managers have developed a plan to address it. We, as an evaluator, will look at that program plan, the theory. Is it an effective plan that has a chance at success of addressing that issue? Where does this fit? This fits into formative evaluation. If we don't have an effective program plan, we're not going to have effective results at the end of the program. Okay. So looking at theory and process is very much a formative approach to evaluation. You're going to look and see, was the plan effective? Was there a good program plan? And was the plan being implemented appropriately? And were we following that plan as we're teaching and going through this program? So assessment of program theory, assessment of program process, that is very much the formative types of evaluation. Then the third area put together is impact and efficiency. So we're going to look at the end, did we have success? Did we meet the goals and objectives of the program? And did we do so efficiently as in terms of the way we utilized resources as program managers, as program implementers? So as an evaluator, you're going to measure the impact and the efficiency of that program and how it was implemented. Those are summative forms of evaluation. So you've got needs assessment, you've got the formative, which is program theory and program process, and you've got summative evaluation, which is looking at impact and efficiency. Okay, you've got to understand where this fits into your plan and what your plan is going to measure. I would ascertain that probably you're coming in a little post needs assessment. Okay, you might have an opportunity to measure the the target population. You might have an opportunity to measure a little bit of the reach of the issue, how important the issue is, how many people are impacted or affected by the issue. So that's part of needs assessment. But if you're coming in as an evaluator to measure a program that's already planned, then the needs assessment probably has already happened. You may not be a part of that. Sometimes we come in after that, but you will in your plan very clearly measure program theory and program process. You'll observe and measure that, and you'll clearly observe and measure assessment and efficiency. Okay. So you're going to have formative and summative evaluation methods built into your plan. So again, why does this matter? Why do we need to focus? Well, I mean, we've got to meet the needs of the program. We've got to meet the needs of the stakeholders, and we've got to make sure that we're answering the evaluation questions that we designed for this program. So if we don't focus down, you may do an evaluation, you may have results and have participation in the evaluation, but does it really matter? Did we find anything that's going to help the program or help the stakeholders understand the importance of their program? So when you tell me that you're going to evaluate Ducks Unlimited, or you're going to evaluate the Boy Scouts, those are programs that definitely fit into the need for an evaluation, but they're too broad. You're too broad. You've got to focus in. If you tell me you're going to measure something with the Boy Scouts, or you're going to evaluate the Boy Scouts, okay, we're going to narrow that down to one troop of Boy Scouts, and we're probably still going to narrow down more and say we're going to measure the impact that participation in X program of the Boy Scouts has on leadership development of those participants. Okay. So we've just gone from a very, very broad program to something that's very specific. And what we're going to measure is the leadership development of a subset of kids who participated in one particular program within the Boy Scouts. If you were to tell me you were going to evaluate the Brazos County 4-H program, I would tell you that's way too broad. You need to tell me that you're going to evaluate only the leadership development portion of the program, or you're only going to evaluate the impact that community service has on young people that are involved in the 4-H program, something very specific related to the 4-H program. Okay, same with Ducks Unlimited. Maybe you're going to measure the impact or the change in attitude towards conservation that someone gets from participation in one aspect of Ducks Unlimited, one educational aspect of Ducks Unlimited. So think through what you've laid out and determine how can we make sure that it's narrow enough that we've got very specific things we can measure, that we could boil down to 2 or 3 evaluation questions, broad evaluation questions that are going to measure something very specific tied back to that program that we've identified. Okay, so hopefully that helps you think through, and many of you had narrow enough evaluation ideas, and I've indicated that in my feedback back to you. If I have not seen yours, and there's still many of you that I have not seen yours, you need to email me your topic or your program that you plan to evaluate so that I can give you feedback and let you know whether this is going to work or not. Okay. Uh, Most of you that provided that information to me got a pretty simple good deal. That's a great one. Move forward. Some of you got that's a good concept. Let's determine how we narrow and focus it. Hopefully today's discussion will help you do that. And again, if I haven't heard from you, I can't give you feedback. So I need to hear from you in terms of what you plan to evaluate. Um, we'll move on and talk about some methods over the next couple of sessions. You'll have a quiz this week. Quiz number 4 will be out there this week. The midterm exam is coming up in 2 weeks. It'll be available to you. So the midterm exam is coming up the week of September 30th. It will consist of just the things that we've covered in class. That exam will be developed just from the lectures that we've had in class so far. So there won't be any surprises. There won't be anything that if you paid attention to the sessions, if you participated and listened and maybe taken some notes, you've got all the slides, you've got access where you can go back and view the lectures again. That's what I would do to prepare for the midterm. Okay, so take some notes on some of these major points, but again, if there won't be any surprises, there won't be anything that we haven't covered in class. If you have any questions this week, or you have any concerns about your program that you're not sure that that you're moving in the right direction, do not hesitate to get in touch with me. Everybody have a good week. Thanks and giggle.